And we begin tonight with more young Americans fighting for their lives as this country's massacre epidemic rages on. Following a weekend of bloodshed and a spate of mass shootings, less than 3 weeks since the children of Nashville were buried, this is the feeling of an accelerating gun culture and the carnage and death that comes with it. The fear, the violence, they can feel unstoppable, even all-consuming at times. And it isn't just because of America's indifference to gun violence. It's far more than that. It feels like parts of this country are engaged in a celebration of gun violence, a veneration and devotion that has turned America into the most heavily armed civilian population in the world and a virtual shooting gallery. Americans buy millions of guns a month and keep buying more, feeding a booming industry that can't market their bloody trade in other parts of the world where they have actual gun laws. So they pump all their resources into fostering America's sick obsession. The National Rifle Association shares that agenda, promoting not just guns, but the reckless permission to use them legally on fellow Americans with barely a second thought. Want to talk about grooming? Over the weekend, photographs by Reuters spread online showing children holding guns at the NRA's annual convention last weekend, including this image of a 6-year-old pointing a firearm directly at the camera. This is a disturbing image, no doubt. But perhaps what's more disturbing is how adults are coaching their kids to worship weapons of war. But it shouldn't surprise us, given how Republican governors like Kristi Noem think guns and not rattles belong in a 1-year-old's hands.
Little Miss Addie, who is almost 2, and Branch, who's just a few months old, they have brought us so much joy. Now, Addie, who, soon will need them, I want to reassure you, she already has a shotgun and she already has a rifle. And she's got a little pony named Sparkles, too, so the girl is set up.
And the crowd went wild for the grooming. Even as Americans, far from the political podiums, face violence in their everyday lives. Last week in Missouri, a 16-year-old boy named Ralph Yarl was shot by a homeowner after mistakenly arriving at the wrong address while attempting to pick up his younger siblings. Just across the Mississippi River in Tennessee, the Republican supermajority's response to a recent school shooting is a bill to arm teachers. In Louisville, 2 people are dead after a shooting at a park on Saturday night, only 5 days after another mass shooting in the same city in which 5 people died. Also on Saturday night, a shooting in Alabama at a crowded Sweet 16 birthday party. 4 people were killed and 28 others were injured, some critically. We know these kinds of massacres can occur anywhere, everywhere, in a small, rural, close-knit town like Dadeville, Alabama even, where about 3,000 people live. Dadeville is in Tallapoosa County, where in 2022, 77% of its voters voted to re-elect Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, a Republican endorsed by the NRA, who signed a permitless carry bill into law and who cruised to victory using campaign ads like this one.
Kay kicked so much liberal butt, I bet her leg's tired.
No step too high for a high stepper.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. What does that mean anyway?
I don't know, but I like it.
Okay, that's sick. The youth-led movement to put people over guns has its eye on Kay Ivey and Kristi Noem and Greg Abbott and every other Republican who values weapons over human lives. Their cry? Vote them all out, which is exactly what protesters alongside National Faith leader Bishop William Barber were marching for in Tennessee today.
While kids are dying, while students are being told to run, hide, and fight, the so-called solution our lawmakers are offering is to put more guns in more places. We want safe schools, not fortresses. We want to be teachers, not soldiers.
Joining me now is Reverend Mark Thompson, who participated in today's Moral Monday March in Nashville. Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network and host of Politics Nation. And gun safety advocate Fred Guttenberg, who lost his 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, in the 2018 mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. He's the co-author of the forthcoming book, American Carnage, Shattering the Myths That Fuel Gun Violence. Thank you all for being here. Mark, give us a sense of what went on today.
Well, right now I'm standing outside on the balcony of the House chamber where they are deliberating this piece of legislation in order to arm teachers with guns. You know, police officers have to check their gun in when they go into the squad room correctional officer had to check their gun in. And so this is going to be a very serious debate tonight. Nobody wants to support arming teachers, but the Tennessee legislature is prepared to do that. Just over my shoulder is one of the caskets we tried to carry into the chamber. Reverend Barber was not allowed to do that. But a good crowd today to stand against this gun violence and other forms of death. This is a baby casket. Those were babies that were killed in this school here in Nashville. And so people are demonstrating. The police are bothering me. I'm doing a live on MSNBC, sir. I'm live on MSNBC. Okay, Joy, I'll move it. I'll be done in a minute. All right.
What is going on there, Mark? Can we go back to Mark so I can see what's going on over there with him? What is happening?
They gave me permission. You see the troopers going back in. They gave me permission to stand out here. Then they came out here and tried to revoke permission just now. That's all you just heard. So I told the gentleman I was live on television. I guess he heard that and decided to go away. So it's like that up here.
Yeah, maybe he didn't like what you're saying. Rev, let me come to you for a moment because, you know, the people who preach this kind of worship of firearms also call themselves Christians. And they wrap their love of guns in supposedly their love of the Lord. These two things are incompatible in the theology I grew up in.
Well, it's not only incompatible, it's the height of hypocrisy. You know, last week, ironically, when we had National Action Network's convention, it was at the same time they were having the NRA convention. And Vice President Harris, who keynoted for us Friday, the whole subject was on gun control. And we had faith leaders, the Bishop of the AME Church, Bishop Richardson, and Bishop J. Sheard, and others saying we've got to deal with where the moral compass is of the black church, as well as work with other ecumenical. How can you have 6-year-old children, as you just saw at the NRA convention, holding up a gun, and then you talk about you celebrating the Prince of Peace? So I think that one of the key things that we're doing with National Action Network and faith leaders in the black church is saying this must become the issue, gun control and what we're doing in terms of criminal justice. Because don't forget, Tyrese Nichols' trial is coming up. We're going to be spending a lot of time in Tennessee. We've got to make this the issues where we set the tone rather than the politicians set the tone for us. That has to be what the 24 race is about.
Yeah, I mean, the Tennessee, where Mark is right now, is one of the states that do not require concealed carry permits. We're going to put the map up. And that map that you're seeing right there, Fred Guttenberg, it includes your home state of Florida. It corresponds in many ways, Florida's not on the top 10 list, with the states with the highest number of gun deaths. So you look at the states with the highest number of gun deaths, 9 out of 10 are red states. They are states that have very lax gun laws. They allow people to carry, and sometimes without a concealed carry permit, and sometimes open carry. It's like that we're creating this atmosphere where certain Americans think that we should all just be prepared to die at any time, to watch our children die, to watch our parents die at the store, to just die everywhere. And they want that culture. I don't understand it. Do you?
Well, I actually do understand it. And let's start the NRA convention, which was, in fact, a fraud. It was another in a long line of lies. Why do I say that? Because while they were glorifying and selling gun violence, you were not allowed in there with a gun. So it was, in fact, another fraud. People talking tough, people inciting, people exciting others to do wicked, evil things, but just not near them. And maybe, you know, we saw Governor Lee in Tennessee over the past week change his tune a bit on gun violence because it touched him personally. I'm not surprised by any of these people. They are liars. And it is time we stop listening to the liars. I just want to say this. My daughter in 3 months would be 19 years old. And so if you look at the past 19 years in this country, the understanding of gun violence and where it is today is clear. In 2003, when she was born, there were about 200 million weapons in America, and AR-15s were about just under 2% of all guns sold. If you go to 2018, when my daughter was killed, there were about 300 million weapons in America. If you go to today, there's over 400 million plus ghost guns. But the tragic thing is, instead of being under 2% of all weapons sold, the AR-15 is now 25% of all weapons sold. Understanding gun violence, it's easy. It's in the numbers. We were conned.
I think we were. And, Reverend Sharpton, I think about the Trayvon Martin case. What the NRA has done, they can't sell these weapons in Europe because Europe actually has gun laws.
Exactly.
They're forcing them on Mexico. Mexico has one gun shop and it's controlled by the Army. The way that they're getting, the cartels are getting those guns is from the United States. The way the Caribbean is flooded with guns, it's guns from here. They're selling those guns here and they're getting people to buy more and more and more because they can't sell internationally. But what they're also doing with these stand your ground laws, we saw it in the Trayvon Martin case, we're seeing it in the case of young Ralph Yarl, is they're saying not only do we want you to buy more and more guns, we can't sell them anywhere else, we're going to sell them to you, but we want you to feel freer to use it. We want you to feel freer. Go ahead and take that gun out and shoot because we're going to pass laws that say you can shoot someone and get away with it. That is the atmosphere in which Ralph Yarl gets shot.
And when you take away the penalty, when you take away the punishment, you're developing a society that will become totally unhinged because they feel they will not have to pay.
That's right.
As in the case of Zimmerman, you're bringing all these cases now. To think what happened to this young man in Missouri, and they let the guy go. Now they rearrest him later. But why did you let him go? It is, and to think of what happened in Tennessee. I was talking to Tyree Nichols' parents about it. They come to the convention. Think what happened in Tennessee with the school. You're talking about young white children. There was one black security guard, the other 5 were white, 3 9-year-old white children. And the Tennessee state legislature is going to vote against people that look like their own kids.
That's right.
This is how out of control this is.
And claim that prayer in school will help. That's a Christian school. So they obviously had prayer.
Right.
They had a security guard. They still ended up with 6 people dead.